Good morning, this is Mrs. Cruz, and in this video we are going to be completing Thursday's task. So going back to our agenda, Thursday's task is to read pages 25 to 32, which takes us to the end of chapter 3, and we are going to be answering the last text appending question. Also, today we have our discussion that's due. I just posted the question on Google Classroom, so remember, one option that you have is to create your own question about chapters 2 and 3, post it on our Google Classroom, and then respond to 2 other classmates' questions. Or option B is to attend our Zoom session at 1 o'clock p.m. today, which I just posted the link for that too. And then tomorrow, make sure you turn in your chapter 2 to 3 notes, and you will also have your quiz too, so don't forget to take that as well. Okay, so yesterday we left off with looking at notes already for the last question. We looked at what was Stacy's plan and why does he plan this, and then we're looking at the effects now. So just taking a moment to remember what was his plan. If you need to go back to your notes, that's usually what I like to do too. So we have here, they do the plan because the bus forced them off the road. So then during lunchtime, he tells his siblings to meet him, and they spend their whole lunchtime digging a hole. And as we later find out, the hole was for the bus. And so far we have these notes for the effects. So the bus breaks down, the kids have to walk home, and then we know that it's going to take a little while for the bus to get fixed. It says at least 2 weeks. And we have this description of the kids who are getting off the bus and end up falling either A, in the hole, or B, like in the gullies of the forest as they try to avoid the hole. So we're going to keep reading the rest to see if there are any other effects that we should look for. And we left off here with Mr. Avery's arrival. The fact that he's talking in a gravely voice, we know that grave means serious, so let's see why he's there. Mom opened the door. Mr. Avery stepped dripping into the room. Why, Brother Avery, Mama said, what are you doing out on a night like this? Come on in, take off your coat, and sit by the fire. Stacy, get Mr. Avery a chair. No'm, said Mr. Avery, looking rather nervously over his shoulder into the night. I ain't got but a minute. He stepped far enough into the room so that he could close the door, then nodded to the rest of us. Evening, Miss Caroline, how you tonight? Oh, I'll do, I reckon, said Big Ma, still ironing. How's Miss Fanny? She's fine, he said without dwelling on his wife. Miss Logan, I come to tell you something important. Mr. Morrison here? Mama stiffened. David? You heard something about David? No. Oh, no, replied Mr. Avery hastily. Ain't heard nothing about your husband, ma'am. Mom regarded him quizzically. It's them again. They's riding tonight. Mama, her face pale and frightened, glanced back at Big Ma. Big Ma held her iron in midair. Children, Mama said, I think it's your bedtime. But Mama, we chorused in protest, wanting to stay and hear who was writing. Hush, Mama said sternly. I said it was time to go to bed. Now go. Groaning loudly enough to voice our displeasure, but not loudly enough to arouse Mama's anger, we stacked our books upon the study table and started toward the boys' room. Cassie, I said, go to bed. That's not your room. But Mama, it's cold in there, I pouted. Usually we were allowed to build small fires in the other rooms an hour before bedtime to warm them up. You'll be warm once you're under the covers. Stacy, take the flashlight with you and light the lantern in your room. Cassie, take the lamp from the desk with you. I went back and got the kerosene lamp, then entered my room, leaving the door slightly ajar. Close that door, Cassie. Immediately the door was closed. I put the lamp on the dresser, then silently slid the latch off the outside door and slipped out onto the wet front porch. I crossed to the boys' room. Tapping lightly, I whispered, Hey, let me in. The door creaked open and I darted in. The room was bathed in darkness. What they say, I asked. Shh, came the answer. I crept to the door leading into Mama's room and huddled beside the boys. The rain softened upon the roof, and we could hear Mama asking, "But why? Why are they rioting? What's happening?" "I don't rightly know," said Mr. Avery, "but y'all knows how they is. Anytime they thinks we stepping out of our place, they feels like they gotta stop us. You know what some of them done to the berries." He paused, then went on bitterly. "I don't take but a little nothing to set them devilish nightmen off." But something must have happened," Big Mom said. "How you know about it?" "Alls I can tell you, Miss Caroline, is what Fanny heard when she was leaving the Grangers this evening. She just finished cleaning up the supper dishes when Mr. Granger came home with Mr. Grimes, the school bus driver, and 2 other men. A clap of deafening thunder drowned Mr. Avery's words, then rain quickened and the conversation was lost. I grabbed Stacy's arm. "Stacy, they're coming after us." "What?" squeaked Christopher John. "Hush," Stacy said harshly, "and Cassie, let go, that hurts." "Stacy, somebody must have seen us and told on us," I persisted. "No," Stacy replied unconvincingly. "It couldn't be." "Couldn't be?" cried Christopher John in a panic. "What do you mean, couldn't be?" "Stacy," said little man excitedly, "what do you think they're going to do to us? Burn us up?" "Nothing," Stacy exclaimed, standing up suddenly. "Now why don't y'all go to bed like y'all supposed to?" Okay, let's pause here. So they think something's going to happen to them, and they think someone saw them with the bus situation. So let's back up to really understand why. So we see that we see that they think that people are going to be riding at night, which, if we're not really sure what that means, I mean, just using the berry example, we know that they ride together sometimes to try to punish others. This is like the white men, right? And they're asking why are they going to ride tonight? And then Mr. Berry says, anytime they thinks we stepping out of our place, they feels like they gotta stop us. Okay, so this is kind of like it's being connected to the bus. So here we think maybe they might be suspicious that somebody did something to the bus on purpose. Okay, and then the reason why we could possibly connect it to the bus is because Mr. Berry says his wife sees the bus driver, Mr. Grimes, visit Mr. Granger. And along with 2 other men. So here we have kind of a clue that it might be connected to the bus. And in effect is that now we see Cassie's really worried, like, oh, maybe they know it's us. So I'm going to also highlight this as an effect because this makes the children worry that someone spotted them and that someone's going to come after them. Okay, let's keep going. We were so stunned by his attitude. He sounded like Mama, and I told him so. He collapsed in silence by the door, breathing hard, and although I could not see him, I knew that his face was drawn and that his eyes had taken on a haggard look. I touched his arm lightly. "Ain't no call to go blaming yourself," I said. "We all done it." "But I got us into it," he said listlessly. "But we all wanted to do it," I comforted. "Not me," denied Christopher John. "All I wanted to do was eat my lunch." "Shh," hissed the little man. I can hear him again. I'd better go tell Mr. Morrison," Mr. Avery was saying. "He out back?" "I'll tell him," said Mama. We could hear the side door open and we scrambled up. "Cassie, get back to your room quick," Stacy whispered. "They'll probably come check on us now." "But what'll we do?" "Nothing now, Cassie. The men probably won't even come near here." "You really believe that?" asked Christopher John hopefully. "But shouldn't we tell Mama?" "No, we can't ever tell nobody," declared Stacy adamantly. "Now go on, hurry." Before going on to the next page, I am going to highlight the fact that it describes that like Stacy looks really worried, so he's feeling really guilty about the decision because he's saying that he's the one that got his siblings into it. So that's another effect of the plan. Okay, let's keep going. Footsteps neared the door, and I dashed onto the porch and hastened back to my own room, where I jumped under the bed covers with my clothes still on. Shivering, I pulled the heavy patchwork quilt up to my chin. A few moments later, Big Mom came in, leaving the door to Mama's room open. Knowing that she would be suspicious of such an early surrender to sleep, I sighed softly, and making sleepy little sounds, I turned onto my stomach, careful not to expose my shirt sleeves. Obviously satisfied by my performance, Big Mom tucked the covers more closely around me and smoothed my hair gently. Then she stopped and started fishing for something under her bed. I opened my eyes. Now, what the devil was she looking for down there? While she was searching, I heard Mama approaching, and I closed my eyes again. Mama? Stacy, what are you doing up? Let me help. Help with what? With whatever's the matter. Mama was silent a moment, then said softly, Thank you, Stacy, but Big Ma and I can handle it. But Papa told me to help you. And you do, more than you know. But right now you could help me most by going back to bed. It's a school day tomorrow, remember? But Mama, if I need you, I'll call you, I promise. I heard Stacy walk slowly away. Then Mama whispering in the doorway, Cassie asleep? Yeah, honey, Big Mom said. Go on and sit back down. I'll be out in a minute. Then Big Mom stood up and turned down the wick of the kerosene lamp. As she left the room, my eyes popped up open again, and I saw her outlined in the doorway, a rifle in her hands. Then she closed the door, and I was left to the darkness. For long minutes I waited, wide awake, wondering what my next move should be. Finally deciding that I should again consult with the boys, I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, but immediately had to swing them back again as Big Mom re-entered the room. She passed the bed and pulled a straight-backed chair up to the window, parting the curtain so that the blackness of the night mixed with the blackness of the room. She sat down without a sound. I heard the door to the boys' room open and close, and I knew that Mama had gone in. I waited for the second sound of the door opening again, but it did not come. Soon the chill of the cotton sheets beneath me began to fade, and as Big Mom's presence lulled me into security I did not really feel, I fell asleep. When I awoke, it was still nightly dark. Big Ma? I called. Big Ma, you there? But there was no reply from the chair by the window. Thinking that Big Ma had fallen asleep, I climbed from the bed and felt my way to her chair. She wasn't there. Okay, so just doing a quick check to yourself, ask yourself what's happened. So if you need a quick moment to think, pause. All we know so far is that Mr. Avery visits them, warns them that there might be some night riding, and just says that it might have something to do with Mr. Grimes, the bus driver, and other men that showed up to Mr. Granger's house. Then we have the fact that they needed to let Mr. Morrison know, and after that we just see the way that Big Ma and Mama are acting. And we know Big Ma was last seen by the window. Cassie goes to check. She's no longer there. So let's see what happens. Outside, an owl hooted into the night, quiet now except for the drip-drap of water falling from the roof. I stood transfixed by the chair, afraid to move. Then I heard a noise on the porch. I could not control my trembling. Again the noise, this time close to the door, and it occurred to me that it was probably the boys coming to confirm with me. No doubt Mama had left them alone too. Laughing silently at myself, I hurried onto the porch. Stacy, I whispered. Christopher John? There was a sudden movement near the porch, and I headed toward it, feeling along the wall. Little man. Hey, y'all, stop fooling around. Answer me. I crept precariously near the edge of the high porch, my eyes attempting to penetrate the blackness of the night. From below, a scratchy, bristly sprang upon me, and I lost my balance and tumbled with a thud into the muddy flower bed. I lay paralyzed with fear. Then a long, wet tongue licked my face. Jason? Jason, that you? Our hound dog whined his reply. I hugged him, then instantly let him go. Was that you all the time? Look what you've gone and done. I fussed, thinking of the mess I was in with mud all over me. Jason whined again, and I got up. Okay. I started to climb back up onto the porch, but froze as a caravan of headlights appeared suddenly in the east, coming fast along the rain-soaked road like cat eyes in the night. Jason whined loudly, growing skittish as the lights approached, and when they slowed and braked before the house, he slunk beneath the porch. I wanted to follow, but I couldn't. My legs would not move. let's find out what happens.